Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.
All right, we are back in full effect in the Detroit is Different podcast studios. In this Fight for Justice series, I'm bringing in some different people. And right now I got somebody that's a big homie of mine, but in the world of big homies, he's still close in age, but still got me by a couple of days on the page. Haven't talked to him in a while. Definitely big when it comes to finance and investment. And that's a part of what we see in this fight for justice. As we're seeing what's happening in the streets across America and now the world. And the next question is, what's next? What do we do? How do we do it? And what are some solutions to empower ourselves to go about this? Ken Blanks, how you feeling?
I'm great. How you doing, Way?
Man, everything is everything, man. In the grand scheme of like, that's just the natural response. But the realism is, I'm unsure. Like right now is a time that I believe change can happen.
Yes.
As in times of crisis is opportunity, the yin and the yang, as they say.
Yeah.
And right now is that time of crisis and opportunity. And do I want to be on the side of crisis or do I want to be on the side of opportunity? It's a daily question.
Yeah.
And creating opportunities kind of lies right in some of what you do in the wheelhouse of investment. As
Yes.
we know that money is one of the primary tools of any access in this nation. It's built on capitalism.
That's true.
So that fight against, do we join this machine or not join this machine? Mm-hmm. The longer we're here, we're in the machine.
We in it.
So how do you connect yourself to the number one mechanism in this machine becomes a big question. Mm-hmm. And that's even if you want to exit the machine, it's still going to take monetary resources
Yes.
to get to Ghana, Kenya,
Yep.
Mozambique, or wherever you so chooseth.
Mm-hmm.
As I see Kenya is doing a welcoming for black people to get there.
Absolutely.
Ghana's doing welcomings for black people to get there. Nigeria, strong economy, is doing welcomings for black people to get there. But as much as the welcoming is a call,
Yes.
that welcoming is not saying, here's your ticket.
Right. It's not.
Here's your house.
It's not a gift.
Here's your land.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You are brother. It's brother come with something.
Come with something.
So before we even get to those questions, I want to talk what's going on in your minds as you're watching everything that's happening.
It's a great question. I mean, and I appreciate the way you set the stage because it's really a lot of moving pieces that are going on in the situation. You call it crisis versus opportunity, and it made me think about a new webinar that I just created over the last 2 months through this whole episode we're living through, and it's very similar to what you said. It's not called crisis versus opportunity, but it really made me think those are great words to describe it. It's called Bear Market 101, Panic versus Profit. Panic versus profit, but that same thing is crisis versus opportunity. Right. So we're on the exact same page. And for most of our lives, I believe we always have been since we've known each other. And so I'm happy to be here, be in front of your listeners and on the same wavelength and page with you. What I see is a ton of opportunity. Warren Buffett, who is one of the world-renowned investors, famously said, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And it's a lot of fear in the streets. People don't know what's going on with the pandemic because at the end of the day, there is no vaccine. We're having a lot of economic issues, but it's driven by a scientific problem. Okay. And what it's doing is giving some people don't know what to do. You're talking about over 30 million people have lost their jobs.
Yeah. And I think the number they're saying 40 million, and it could be more.
40 million.
As we know, the concept of unemployment, especially in a black community, is technically to be unemployed, you need to be on the unemployment rolls. And you can only be on the unemployment rolls so long. Right. So after you're off the unemployment rolls, they consider you a voluntarily displaced worker. And unemployment is something that can last maybe a year in markets like this. And we've all known people that have been, quote unquote, voluntarily displaced workers for 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it's considered. You're considered as someone that doesn't want to work.
It's deep. It's deep. With all that being said, I think that between the pandemic scare, the unemployment numbers, our unemployment now is higher than it was during the Great Depression.
Yes.
All right. You have the other virus that's going on, racism.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the ingredients of this perfect storm as it relates to Wall Street. So it's whenever there's a lot of uncertainty, there's going to be a lot of market volatility.
Yeah.
And the volatility is when prices move erratically up and down quickly, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at like a stock chart or a graph, it's a lot of the highs and lows, and it's a lot of erratic movement. But that erratic movement is what causes the opportunity. Also, keep in mind this is a presidential election year. And so whenever there's a presidential election year, historically, there's a lot of market volatility because the market is trying to figure out which direction the nation is going to go in, because once the election is decided, then the market stabilizes because at least it's certain about what at least the political sentiment will be for the next 4 years. Right. The uncertainty is what causes all of the volatility. Once we're certain and we're like things like a new presidency and we're not in war and there's no pandemic and we have a cure and we can take our kids back to school and everybody can like that would stabilize the market and make it skyrocket. Once anybody who comes out with a vaccine, the market is going to skyrocket because it's all about emotions and sentiment. At the end of the day, people invest in the stock market.
And as you're talking about people investing in the stock market, this is one of those things is stocks and investment is something that most Americans are unaware of. Even in our lack of awareness, we're still buying into stocks. Our insurance companies obviously are trading. Our savings are trading. We're relying on systems to be operating in our best interest through our willful ignorance in what's happening in the market, in the marketplace. And as you say, it's all about emotions as the response to so much of what's happening right now. So let's stop at COVID-19 even before we get to a lot of the protests and the rebellions right now.
Okay.
COVID-19 had an immediate response on the marketplace because many businesses either at best had to change how they function or completely cease operations.
Yes, immediately.
Yes, immediately. And this was, I don't know if people have crises evaluation plans, and I've gone through so many classes right now at Walsh from my master's and MBA. So these are theories,
okay,
and these are things that people talk about in project management, but enacting that plan that you talk about of like, okay, this is what happens is different than when it really happens.
Right.
So this really happening put a cease on so many businesses that really don't even know, didn't have a plan to stop, and also won't know when things will be over. As we're seeing states across the nation, I guess, open up and cities and municipalities open up, we still don't necessarily know the functionality of what that looks like. We're watching, Disneyland and Disney World open up and people like look at operating under some sense of social distancing, what the rules are when it comes to staff saying to themselves like, damn, do I want to, operate this roller coaster or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I know what they're saying they're going to do. They're going to give me this, that, and the other, but do I really want to do that? It's a lot of uncertainty right now. And as you say, that opportunity, but how have you seen the market respond? And further, let's just talk about that. How have you seen the market respond like early on when this pandemic hit? What was happening?
It was a huge sell-off. I'd actually bought some companies maybe 2 weeks before the pandemic really hit, and I didn't
like
even
March
realize.
1st.
And because I'm an active trader, I buy stocks every week for the most part, and I didn't get the memo, right? I didn't know. Even as much as I've been trading stocks for over 23 years, I didn't get the memo that the COVID was about to hit. So I bought some stuff, and I mean, within 2 weeks, it dropped 60-70%. And as did a lot, I mean, that's for individual stocks. The market as a whole, I believe, had like a 30% pullback. You know what I mean? So that's like a crash. It crashed. It just didn't crash long. It made what's considered a V-shaped recovery. So it went down, and then within about 2 months, it's kind of back up now. It's almost back to where it was. It could be a potential bull trap, is what it's called, because the term is called being bullish when the market goes up and bearish when the market goes down. And so some people think it's a bull trap, meaning don't get caught up in the market up right now, because you still have to account for the 40 million people unemployed. All of the businesses have been shut down. So when those next wave of economic reports come out, you're going to see pretty crappy numbers. But some people who are on the side that think that it's going to keep going up say that the market has already accounted for the unemployment and the closures.
Yeah. So in that, just with some of the stocks you buy in observing, what has been your approach to this?
My approach has been very simple, actually. I've been trying to find great companies that are on life support, that the market overpunished them, right, because of the pandemic, or some that just because of their business model, they just legitimately can't make money. So I've been looking at companies, so like the airlines, right? I did really good in the airlines. I think you had mentioned.
Yeah, Spirit Airlines. The first thing I was thinking in this, and I remember President Trump, as much as I'm sure most Detroit is Different watchers are not supporters of the president, but I at least acknowledge some of what the president says.
Yes.
And he said, we got to save this cruise line industry. We got to save this travel industry. We got to save this airline industry, which definitely, I believe, has a lot to do with what he's done in business over time. So these are his allies, you know. And
he may own stock in those companies as well.
He probably does. Yeah, like, well, they say he doesn't, but, you know, we know.
The family trust.
Yes,
somebody
exactly.
is benefiting.
So when the president made a statement like that, the thought process is like, okay, they may still even bail out this. And I'm thinking in human behavior. All of the posts saying, you know, especially a lot of the I want to say like it was like a post almost going viral of a lot of women I know saying, I can't wait to walk down the aisle when this is all over. And they're talking about the airline aisle. And how much travel is a part of American culture, because it's another form of escapism. It's
a form of life culture. Actually, so the airline industry is one of the main industries I've been promoting to my students to consider investing in. I granted, just for disclaimer's purpose, I'm not making any stock recommendations. I'm not a stock broker nor a financial planner. I don't touch people's money. I just try to, if anything, touch their mind. Yeah, touch their mind so they can do.
And methods about how they can arm themselves.
And do better homework on their own. So just for full disclosure, but I encourage my students to explore airline stocks, especially when they were beaten down. I think it's still plenty of room in there for some to run. Some have ran up more than others. I remember when you talked about President Trump mentioning the companies, he had mentioned like we have to save Boeing, right? Yes. And I went and bought Boeing, and Boeing is up, you know, way up. And I think it still has room to grow. Boeing is under $200 a share right now. This might be about 180, but its 52-week high is 391. So I look at the spread of what the opportunity is when I look at companies. I like to see how low has it been in the last year, how high has it been in the last year, what price is it today. And the closer it is to the floor, then that is an indicator for me that I would consider it. Now, that's not the only factor I look at. I look at probably a dozen things before I would consider buying a stock. But one of the most intriguing things to me is the spread between how low it's been and how high it's been. Because the main point of investing in the stock market is to buy an asset at a low price and sell it for exponentially more.
Yes.
And wash, rinse, and repeat.
Now, as you talk about that wash, rinse, and repeat in our community, because of the economic challenges, it's been trepidation just with money, period. Money, talking about money in the black community is almost like talking about racism sometimes in the black community. It's an entity that exists.
Yeah.
But often not acknowledged, or I shouldn't say racism. I want to say maybe enslavement in the black community. Let's
yeah. I mean, we suffer from of some form of financial slavery, right? Due to our ignorance, our lack of knowledge. But here's the thing: I don't punish our people for our position. I don't punish anyone. I don't judge anybody. But I do. I can easily identify why we're there because it has been systematic. Our parents, my parents aren't wealthy. They worked regular jobs. They went to Cass. I went to Renaissance. I mean, we're just regular people, right? Blue collar jobs and stuff like that. And their parents weren't wealthy, and then their parents weren't wealthy, right? And then you only go back so many levels. Then we talking about slavery. So no, there hasn't been a wealth chain. There hasn't been anything really passed down, and from a business mindset, right? Our wealthiest the wealthiest people in our community are typically entertainers and athletes, and those are people who have been blessed with gifts and talents, right, that they cultivated. But for the other people that weren't blessed with phenomenal entertaining or athletic abilities, well, what are we left with? Well, actually, we're left with the greatest tool ever, and that's our mind. And if we use our mind and can creatively solve problems, we will identify opportunities. So I look at companies that are innovative in creatively solving problems, right? So I look at stuff like diabetes cases have quadrupled worldwide. Who's monitoring the diabetes? Who's treating the diabetes? Who's doing the screening for that? Well, everybody's over here with COVID, because once they find COVID's cure, it's out of there. Just like SARS, just like swine flu, just like pig, mad cow disease, bird flu. Like, it's always something, right?
Yeah.
It's always something, but we get beyond something. It was Spanish flu back in the day. It's been influenza. It's whatever, chicken pox, smallpox. Like medicine finds the solution to those type of problems eventually. The thing about the opportunity is, you have to have a vision of the future. So if you see the future and you see a company's product or service being widely adopted or widely beneficial for millions or billions of people, then those are the type of companies that you will need to consider. So I like to look at companies that satisfy needs over companies that satisfy wants, right? People, like you say, need to travel. You don't just want to travel. You need to travel. You can't have a life literally on quarantine. It won't work. You need to travel, right? Companies that are publicly traded, like Kroger's, Walmart, Costco, Target, there's Dollar Tree, Dollar General. Their stocks have all been skyrocketing.
Yes,
because the pandemic didn't hurt them at all.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
And I've paid attention to that. Now, one of the things we talked about, too, when I called you originally was, we know if something's publicly traded, it's publicly owned, meaning the people that buy stock are owners of
yes, sir.
This business.
Yes.
But is there a way that collectively, almost like in a sense of, right now, we're talking about buying black with our dollars, so supporting black businesses. But is it also a way to influence the market by saying, like, okay, because you have your corporation has like almost like a equity report in how the fairness of black people, people can collectivize and say, okay, this is a business to invest in. Right now, we're seeing more CEOs step forward and say, I'm going to give some money to fight racial equality and racial equity. And it's like, I don't even know who the hell they're giving money to, what's the checks and balances on that. But also, it's like, do we reward that action? Do we not reward that action? It's been much conversation right now about, people say Taco Bell, but Yum Corporation, which is a collection of Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC, and their support for Donald Trump's reelection and giving the PACs that support that. So a lot of people are like, don't shop there, But along with don't shop there, it's like,
don't
if
invest
we are
there.
Going to invest,
who
do we invest? How do we invest with the best interest of our community too? Do you think something like that could come together? Would it be powerful? How do you think maybe the market would respond? Like, what's just your thoughts on that on the surface?
I think that is a very maverick idea. Do I think it'll work? I think I'm more of a real. I'm not a pessimist nor an optimist. I'm more of a realist.
Yeah.
And if anything, I skew towards optimism. If anything, I'm 51% optimist.
Yeah.
In my realism, right? So I'm the guy saying, yeah, well, maybe let's give it a whirl. Even if I have some apprehensions, I'll say give it a whirl. I'm not at 51% with this. I'm more than that. I think that it's really feasible, but it's about how it's structured and organized to make sure people are on the same page, and that it's, it's just all about structure, know, because it's our people. We got to just do it right? We're taking it from, from Davidson Street to Wall Street.
Yeah.
So just
I agree. And then along with that Davidson to Wall Street, do you think that it can be more independent? Does it need to be explicitly like a mutual fund, or can it be independent? Can everybody say, look, this corporation X just said that we're going to do this, and we see they did that. So everybody, go out, buy one share of that stock, and then we put that on Instagram or something.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of a movement that's different of today that can be creative. Like maybe it doesn't need to necessarily be an act of, like a fund holder.
I got you,
because I know with the laws of how investment works.
Yeah, touching money
that's more
gets a little different. But I think that what you're saying, as far as some kind of a watchdog group that is monitoring the fairness or the involvement that publicly traded companies have in our community, and having some type of a scorecard, right? Some type of a rating system, and some key. These are the things we're looking at, right? Whether it's how they're involved from from philanthropy, not just from dollars, but it can also be, did they have a volunteer any time?
Yeah.
Anything. We could be looking at how many black executives they have. How many VPs and how many CEOs, or what percentage of their workforce is black, and it's. And then you want to choose it. Is black or the black color?
With black vendors?
Yes. Those type of your vendors, your suppliers, your, like you say, what kind of contracts do you have? Anything. Like, do you even have, whatever it is? I think that if that's what it is, an independent watchdogs company or something that just kind of like literally independently evaluates and just publishes a report, I think it's a cleaner approach. I think that people is more credibility in it. Like, we're not here trying to touch your money. Because once you do that, they're trying to investigate, like, is it a Ponzi scheme, or is it a you know what I mean? Like, I don't want 10 million black Americans
to give you
giving me $10 on a monthly basis or annual basis for any political cause, or to throw stuff, because that's giving me too much juice. That's too much juice.
The tools also exist where you can go on Cash App and buy stock.
Yeah, you can do that.
You can E-Trade.
I think that's the way to go, of influencing and being a resource for knowledge, and then letting the intelligent investors in our community go do what they shall. I think that's a much cleaner approach. Because if we start something together and we got $100 million sitting in our checking account, and that influences the market, and we're taking that money that we've pooled and we're making these moves, and they target us, like, who runs this outfit? And it's a little different, because the money is what makes us a target, because that gives you the power.
Yeah.
If we just got $1 million. Which is cool. We can get $1 million now. That ain't no money. We can get $1 million, but we got $100 million. We a target. We get $1 million. We can run our little bird dog thing and say our thing. But we got $100 million. We actually buying with that.
Then now it could be
it moves the market.
Be compromised.
It could be compromised a little bit.
Furthermore, that's really not going to be the mission.
Yeah,
the mission is technically
keeping everything fair. We just want to be transparent. Hey, these are the people who are interested in our agenda,
and they have,
and not even our agenda. We don't really have an agenda. Just saying they're pro-black.
Yes. Yeah.
These are companies who like us. Like, we just want to support those who like to support us. That's really all it is. And I think that's to keep it as simple as possible, and just being very transparent about it. And if there's a publicly traded company that is endorsing things that are not beneficial to us, we let it be known.
Yeah. And
transparently, I would like it to be as very objective as possible. I wouldn't even want it to be editorially and add any of my personal spin on it. It's just transparent, because the ball don't lie. You either got this company got 12 black executives, this one got 2. That's where they rank on that list. It's just a ranking.
They've given to 15 black vendors.
They've given this
may
much
give
to
one black vendor, but that black vendor got $100 million
exactly.
Contract.
And that helped. Or they giving this much to the United Negro College Fund, or they gave this much to the NAACP, or they endorsed, it could be political endorsed. Yeah, black candidates, whether they were Democratic or Republican.
Yeah.
We got my man John James, right, or whatever. He Republican still. Did you give? He's still black.
Yeah.
You support the black man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
all we just said. You know what I mean? We ain't even got to go deep into your intent and what you quid pro quo. No, just did the money go? Did it go from one hand to a black hand? Did it go to a black hand?
Yeah.
That's it.
And a report like that, as I'm even thinking this through, as like the next steps, what's next? Mm-hmm. And then just hearing your energy now, I'm really thinking that I want to be a part of seeing something like that grow. And it may even start small with some of the local companies, because there are many local companies that are publicly traded. Mm-hmm. And a report like that will be keen and aware, especially right now as we all have the option to buy that stock. And even if it's just like, hey, we bought, 100 people on Facebook all showing that they bought a share of a company, because they reported well. Yeah, it's going to be that type of movement that I think will enlighten more. I think that's awesome.
It made me just think I should even, with that, just a piece of content, I should probably publish a list of publicly traded companies that are headquartered in Michigan, because a lot of people don't know how many of them there are. There are quite a few.
And we would like
Kroger, Dow, the big three, just they just jump out at me. That's 5 real quick, but it's way more.
We need to know, because they're a part of our neighborhood, and we need to know. And then at that point, even having the voice to become an owner of one versus the owner of another one.
Yes. Invest in your own backyard, like Ally Financial. I posted about that maybe a month ago, and when it was $14 a share, and now it's 21. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could have made a quick 50% on that, but Ally Financial is headquartered on Jefferson, up downtown.
Yeah. So
the old GMAC Finance. That's Ally Financial. It's an online bank.
So when we think about this, like what you're saying with the Ally Financial, and then what's in our backyard, and getting that equity, let's talk a little bit more about how these corporations are functioning.
Okay.
In response to this protest. I definitely think corporations are in the best interest of making profit, and absolutely. Along with making profit, sometimes the difference between Ken Harris often talks about this, and I sometimes make it explicit, and I think this is kind of from George Fraser and others, but it's a difference between hustling. It's a difference in doing business, and definitely it's a difference in a corporate business, because as a corporate business, they may be looking to appease stakeholders, which their stakeholders are way more than the customer. Sometimes the stockholder matters more than the customer, and vice versa. Or furthermore, they matter on the same level, which is a different way of conducting business than a business owner that really kind of their vested interest is in their customer base. And hustling, to me, is you're really focused on not a vision that's long term. You're focused on, how do I maximize the amount of money I can make today and right now. So your interest is the money, not necessarily the customer, and definitely not an investor, because you're hustling. So with these 3 different levels of business, where do you see corporations looking and responding to these protests? Because we see some of the statements, we see some of the actions, and we're going to donate to the organizations and stuff like that. But do you think that it's going to impact the market some? And if so, in what ways?
I think that the protests have impacted the markets slightly. Wow. Just because it adds more uncertainty, more unrest, right? It's civil unrest, right? We're supposed to be civilized, and you add that, we've already been pent up in the house for months on the quarantine. You got all this employment, and now we have this outrage, this horrific event, and now not only are you seeing protests, it's not like back in the day it was like we had one march or some speeches here and there. Like, this is not to dilute the impact of those things, but these are protests everywhere.
Every day.
Like, this is, I've seen like a protest on this day for this reason, but this has literally been daily protests in dozens of cities across America.
In the world.
And the first time ever in the world. And there are arguably more white people in the protests. And I'm not going to go into the looters and the setups and the I don't know about the mystery bricks, and I done heard about all that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, in the peaceful protests, there are arguably more white people in the actual peaceful protests walking side by side black people all over the world. And I don't think that's never happened. Never did the entire world give any attention to our issue. And I think that it elevated to a now we're humans. I think that we're at the first point where the world is doing, it's like a tipping point. I hope that it can fully tip over. I hope and pray that it's not just we doing this for now and then at some point it go back to the same racist, evil world it used to be. I think that we've had generations where you've had a lot of interracial relationships, all over the world, our athletes, our entertainers, those people, they're celebrated, they're worshipped in some places all over the world. I mean, Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. They passed. Those brothers were celebrated all over the world. Like we making, So, and these are black men. And to go from everybody, we literally went from 2 months prior, or maybe 3 months, whatever it was, 2-3 months prior, Kobe and Gigi and the world just mourning for a week on Kobe and how much Kobe was part of our childhood and coming up. He was always around, whether Kobe's your favorite player or not. He was always part of our growing up. He was there. It was like Jordan passed it to Kobe and Kobe passed it to LeBron. Like he did that for a generation and was still a young guy. He's our age. You know what I'm saying? And so for that to go down, and we deified Kobe. We celebrate Kobe went out like a god. You know what I'm saying? Nipsey Hussle was deified. He had a funeral. He went out like a god. You know what I mean? Like we deified these black men. And then 2 months later, we watching this evil white cop kneeling on the neck. And it's like the kneel to me was the son of Colin Kaepernick. Cause his whole movement with the kneeling. And the whole national anthem thing and the whole, it was bigger than football. It was like, I want to do this so y'all stop. Because the millennials are pissed. That's why is they burning and stuff and tearing it apart. Because we know they killed Malcolm, Martin. Like we had our figures, Bob Marley. We know they took out Pac, Michael Jackson, like Prince. Anybody who was on some love, John Lennon, they weren't even all black. But if you cared and was like, in the war, stop Vietnam, or love not hate, or it don't matter if you black or white, let's come together. They taking you out, right? Michael Jackson is gonna come out with his album saying this is it. They like, nah, this is it. Like you ain't coming out saying all that stuff because that's the propaganda machine. They want to keep their agenda rolling. So anybody that speaks out about their agenda disappears somehow, whether it's execution or exile.
And that's where, like you saying, the corporations, you feel have responded. Like it was unique. One of the first actions. And
Nike
was Nike.
I was thinking about when Nike supported Colin Kaepernick. With the ad campaign. But to me, that would be an example of a company that we invite to the barbecue on the list, on the watchdog list.
It's like we would say we support this act and saying and supporting him. Giving him a fair, not just the monies in the endorsement, but also allowing him the freedom and the creative control to make a campaign that still is impactful. And speaks to what our message is.
And now he's been deified. Colin Kaepernick's way bigger than football.
Much more. I think he's one of the few. He hasn't made a statement publicly, but I think he's one of the few people. If he makes a statement, it will be very impactful.
I can't wait till he say something because we need the whole movement. Because even with and it was crazy. This is so crazy and sick and twisted though. The kneel became the movement, and everybody kneeling through the national anthem to show we ain't even standing for this because of the thing, but. For that officer to kill George Floyd in that manner and shunning that message, but then the flip is people are kneeling now as part of the protest because it's really so it's like they tried to play us and kneel on George Floyd like the anti message, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's bigger than that. Because now George Floyd is deified. Now he's a martyr that started the movement.
Very much. I feel this George Floyd, his murder is what the Emmett Till murder must have been.
Yeah,
for my mother's
the
generation.
tipping point.
And
because
in that video is the open casket.
Yes.
You know, in this form of media, not, you know, we saw it in Jet and Ebony, or they saw it in Jet and Ebony, but we see it on our social media.
And you know, it's in to add another layer to that, Kari, the way it was done was gruesome.
Yes.
Okay. Very, like, and that's why I said the millennials are pissed, because we had our few that I named earlier from our generation we exposed to who were murdered. They have like 50 names.
Very much so.
In the last 10 years, like from Trayvon, like on. Like,
I mean, even we didn't see the video and we know the story of Breonna Taylor. I'm glad that the FBI is looking into that.
Yes.
I mean, you and I were young watching the Rodney King. I mean,
yeah, Rodney King, Malice Green.
Yes.
They had Rodney King, right? We had Malice Green here in Detroit. So we were aware of those isolated situations, but we rioted and it went down then. But just keep in mind, the millennials in the last 10 years, they got like 50 names.
Yes, very much so.
Men, women, young people,
yes.
Older people, armed, unarmed, you know what I mean? Unarmed industry, buying candy bars or whatever, like all kind of crazy stuff. Getting shot in the back.
Yes.
But it's but even with that, all that gruesomeness, most of those are instantaneous deaths, not diluting it, but a lot of those are shootings.
Yes.
Even with the police beatings, you beat me up, because I've been beat up by the police before. Mm-hmm. I lived to see another day. Mm-hmm. But to kneel on my neck and make me fight for my life to breathe for 9 minutes, that's a slow death. A 9-minute death is a slow, long death.
Yes.
I don't think anyone wants to go out like that. I think anyone say just get it over. I think some people say, would you rather go out like this or would you rather go out like that?
I think the layers of it, and it's funny in this Fight for Justice series, I didn't think I would get in depth with this so much with you, but that's just the realness. A black man talking to another black man. It's the kneeling, the other officers kneeling on his back too, but it's also like you vividly see the dismissive nature in Derek Chauvin's expression of like, I don't even give a fuck that you're taping this. Multiple people. Like, his look directly at that young woman that was taping it was like, what you gonna do? As the man was shouting, yo, you're killing him. You know, it's like, damn. It's like the brazen attitude to like casually have his hand in the pocket as if this is just another Tuesday.
And for all we know, for him, it could have been just another Tuesday.
And I mean,
we don't know how many. Yeah, we don't know how many people.
All signs point to
he's
that.
Killed.
All signs point to that on looking at his
if
record.
If a man could kill somebody like that casually in broad daylight on camera, just like it's nothing, don't think that's the first black man he's ever killed.
And that's what we.
He did that like it was just another day at the office, like you say, just another Tuesday.
Yeah. In the goddamn morning.
That's horrible. First thing in the morning.
Yeah, it ain't even not meaning like he clocked in, kill a black man.
Real talk.
And this is the
and we just had a black president. Just understand, people, it don't even make sense. How do we just went from Barack Obama, so we just went from seeing the height of what's possible for a black man in America.
Yeah.
We swung from the height, the apex of what a black man could be in America to you know what I'm saying? Like, really?
Yeah.
We went from Barack Obama to George Floyd.
That fact.
Just let that kind of.
Yeah. And I mean,
I have a black son. You know what I mean? I'm a black man. You're a black man. Like, I believe in our brothers. I think that we could do anything.
Yeah.
And for me, it reinvigorated my desire to do more for our people. Mm-hmm. Because it was a beyond clearer than clear illustration. Like you say, they really don't give they don't care about us, man, at all.
Yeah. And
they killed Michael Jackson for making a song talking about all I want to tell you that they don't even care about us.
It very much so. And I mean, you
they don't.
It's so, and I'm going to talk to an attorney about this, and I'm sure he can break down more, but also just the casual way that after being on video, knowing that somebody's probably putting this on Facebook, they went into the office after he's dead and said he was resisting arrest. That they still, all 4 officers were complicit in filing that report, which shows more of the injustice, and their coroner report saying, well, he had drugs in his system and he had pre-existing conditions. You know, so it's like the layers of injustice. So it's good to know that you feel that some corporations are responding. I was applauding in Target's statement to say, look, we're with the protesters after they saw their corporation being burned to the ground, because they recognize that store and that property is not even close to the value of black life. So I think that was like a hell of a step.
Or Target's profits. A lot of our sisters love their Target.
Yeah.
So they know like we can't lose the black community either. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And I to bring the conversation more back towards the economic elements, because I want to make sure I hit a couple key points. One, the pandemic was eye-opening for a lot of people, not just corporations, because it was exposure of what is your current financial condition. And the most important thing that I encourage anybody to do is save money. The biggest problem we have financially within our community is we don't save money. We spend too much money. I remember when I first got, my parents took me to get my first bank account, might have been 11 years old, and they got me a savings account. And I was not excited about that, because I thought in the 80s when I was around, I thought that the power was in the checking account, because I would see my parents write checks, and if they write a check, then we would get things, right? We go to the store, they write the check, and then we can bring stuff home. And so to me, the power was in the check, because you can acquire things, and you can pay bills with checks, and you can drive cars if you got a check, and you can go to private school with a check. I wanted a checking account. I wanted to be able to write checks. I thought that's where the power was at. And I don't think that I was the only child that thought that the power was in the checking account. And the reality of it is, now at age 41, so 30 years later, I've realized that the power is actually in the savings account, the ability to save. And it's more of an analogy. There's better places for your money than the savings account. But the concept of saving, when you save, it gives you a power position. It gives you options. It gives you leverage. You can do a lot of things. Banks don't loan money to people that don't have money.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely. I do feel that, traditionally the systemic racism involved in those institutions, banking institutions, and the financial industry. Now, with that, there are certain rules. I mean, I've taken a lot of these classes, and let's go to directly what you're speaking of, like Dr. Claude Anderson. Sure. The propensity to spend. That's the term that a lot of economists would use, meaning that as the old phrase my mom used to say, money's burning a hole in your pocket. Mm-hmm. Meaning you can't wait to spend this money. Mm-hmm. You spent your check before you get your check. Living beyond your means. Yes. An economist will call that you have a high propensity to spend. The black community does have a very high propensity to spend in all economic standards. And there are legitimate, I shouldn't say legitimate, but there are strong arguments of why. Some of it is the scarcity that exists. Some of it is the reality. And this is where I would ask you, how do you build some of those savings institutions when many of us are mentally, because all of this stuff is definitely mental first, shackled to like, I need to have a higher quality of life, and this money is a gateway to that higher quality of life.
So that's a great question. So I would say like this. We learned our math, our money rules from people who weren't good with money. if they taught it to us at all anyway, which is probably our parents. And a lot of times we say it's taboo to talk about religion, politics, and money.
Yes.
It's taboo. So and so they either didn't tell us at all, we were shut out of there, and we weren't part of those practices. Like, yeah, my parents took me to open up my first account, but my parents didn't teach me how to balance a bank book.
Yeah.
They didn't teach me about that. They just took me to get an account because you're supposed to have an account and you save you some money. Just because that's important. So I at least knew you're supposed to save some money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But beyond that, no, I didn't learn how to balance a bank statement so I was in college. My parents, they didn't know. I guess they knew, but they didn't teach me. If they knew, I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was shocked to know that my parents still have a mortgage. Like, they still have y'all refinance
many of us,
like, what? And I don't, though. I own my house free and clear, and my parents have lived in the same house since 76 and still have a mortgage.
But many of us have refinanced, and I think that these are some of the other predatory practices. I just helped out my aunt. My aunt was pitched a
reverse mortgage or something like that.
At like 74. You know what I'm saying? And
she's 74 years old
when she was pitched. Not me. She's no longer that. But to even offer lending, but it's like it's these predatory practices that exist in our community.
Yes,
and that we talk about. So like I this is a really good point in this discussion, as I oftentimes say, and I work with her and my cousins have poly pomona, which is like they help with like budgeting. Okay. Because a lot of people it's tough. I talked to another one of my like big homies and great aunts. I'm always like, you need to let me look at your expenses. Cause she's like, I'm about to retire. I'm about to do this. I'm like, let me look at your expenses. And I'm like, I have my Excel spreadsheet of, expendable income. What do I have coming up? I know when these things are recurring, but some of us are like just kind of on a roller coaster of just not knowing what the hell is happening with our money. Yeah. It's like, certain things will exist, but it's pressure, it's anxiety, thinking, I know I may not have enough of this. I know I may not have enough of that. So savings definitely can become like damn near overwhelming, even just to save to a point, which as an entrepreneur, that's what I usually do. I like save to a point to make a move, and I invest in something. That's usually my approach. I got you. But I know my dad's an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. I have some other skill sets that have been availed to me that a lot of the people I know, like you say, just don't have access to.
I'm happy you brought
some
that
of
up.
it, like I'm gonna kind of give you a hypothetical situation of a classic situation that we've all seen. I'm gonna call this hypothetical person Markeisha X. So Markeisha X is living in, renting in the hood, has a kid, kind of doesn't like really being there, feels trapped in the hood, probably bought and paying for this, that week-to-week car, which is predatory in itself. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Overpaying for insurance. And overpaying on a note that she's paying for week to week. Yeah. Probably other stuff like rent centers going on in Markeisha X's house. Mm-hmm. All predatory practices. And she's in community college looking to study to become an RN. Mm-hmm. She becomes an RN, feels accomplished, feels really happy, gets a couple checks under her belt, knows now that I can, qualify for this condo in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. Because now my kid can go to a good school, quote unquote, and I can not live in the hood. And I also, so I'm going condo in the suburbs, and now I'm going to go get a real car lease. I always wanted that Hellcat. I deserve a Hellcat because I've been going to school. Nobody ever really gave shit to me. And bam, now I'm in a Hellcat. Mm-hmm. Markeisha X now she's on paper making what an RN makes, but in the financing, she is student loan, overpaying for rent, overpaying for lease, in a situation where she's, needing that cash app from brother, sister, and little cousin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just to keep shit afloat, and depending upon how the weeks fall in a month, she's either in debt or not in debt. Mm-hmm. And I'm using Markeisha X, but that is a very common position for many of our people because many of us say, won't stay in that house that they were renting, won't stay in that car, because almost like the material goods are almost like a treat, like I've succeeded, and now I need to get a higher quality of life through this better car, through this better house, or whatever.
Yeah, we're all guilty of that, man. I mean, I just bought another Beamer 6 months ago, right? So I can't be mad at people for doing silly stuff. But the difference is I bought, and I'm saying another, but I have two BMWs. But one is sitting on the side of the house and is needs massive repair. So let me paint that picture. But I bought a used one, right? Yeah. It's a 2011. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get the depreciation hit. But I didn't want to go buy a new one because that don't make sense, right? Because our people especially want the newest, latest, greatest, shiny thing. So, but I did that as one of those, like you say, you save and then you go do something. But I paid my house off. So my treat for me was I own my house free and clear. So I paid off my primary residence. And then my second thing I did after that is making sure you have an emergency fund. So I was talking earlier about how we got to save and we don't save. So I was doing research about you supposed to have an emergency fund. A lot of people say 3,000, 5,000, whatever. But then
whatever, basically,
it works for your lifestyle,
your quality of life, and what your expenses are. So then for me, after I paid off my house, I saved 5,000 for an emergency fund. But then I thought that, you know, I got children and stuff like, so I would save 10,000, right? And so after I paid off my house, saved 10 grand. And then start investing more, you know, it just became a snowball effect. Like once you go to a certain point, you just don't be broke no more. But you have to discipline yourself. So I started doing stuff like changing, like you mentioned earlier, mentally. I started to change my ways and not be who I used to be, because I grew up on the east side in Detroit in the same community with, the fall victim of the same thing. I wanted Jordans, but my parents never got me Jordans because we couldn't afford Jordans. Yeah. Now I'm 41 years old. I know Jordans are $200 or whatever. I've never owned one pair of Jordans in my life, but I can go buy 100 pair today, in 10 minutes, whatever they call. I can go buy 200 pair of Jordans tomorrow, 10 minutes, but I've never owned one pair. So it's the difference between wants versus needs. I need shoes. Mm-hmm. We want Jordans, but you need shoes. You can get shoes for 20, 30, 40 bucks. They might be the ones you want, but they satisfy your need. You're not barefoot. But we so caught up in Jordan. Like, so I go in these high schools through my program, Bullish Teens. I talk and teach to a lot of the youth, and I have them show of hands. How many of y'all own a pair of Jordans? How many of y'all own more? Keep your hands up. You'd be surprised me on 3, 4, 10 pair of Jordans, like in their lifetime. Yeah. And so I showed them the difference of, well, if your parents, somebody say something like, who was alive in 2005? Show of hands. All their hands go, because they only be 15. Yeah. But some of them have 5 pair of Jordans. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that's $1,000 your parents spent for getting you shoes. If in 2005 they had to put that $1,000 in Nike stock instead of buying you the Jordans, because in 2005 Nike stock was $10. Mm-hmm. Now it's over $100. Yeah. So that $1,000 would have been over $10,000 right now. So they could have bought you 50 pair of, like, if they'd invested in Nike stock, you could buy 50 pair of Jordans today. And it's deep that you speak about this in the psychology. I don't know if you've seen,
and that doesn't even include with the dividends. That's just off of capital appreciation.
This is it's deep. You speak about this as the Netflix series Black AF, or Black as Fuck, about Kenya Burris. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but
I saw 2 episodes, like
but
the first 2.
To that going back and buying what you couldn't buy when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. I was the poor kid, hence, like, now I'm talking about Kwame X. So Kwame X feels like, I was the poor kid, so now I have some money to myself, so now I want to buy some top 10s. I'm gonna buy a Sergio Tacchini fit. I'm gonna get some Cartier glasses. Like, I'm buying all of this that I wanted when I was a child today, which are depreciating assets. Mm-hmm. So for people learning, we're talking some finance terms here. A depreciating asset is an asset that loses value the minute you buy it.
So is that really an asset?
That's even a deeper question right there. But I'm just speaking as in finance. But I agree with you. I agree with you. An appreciating asset is something that appreciates in value as you buy it. Yeah. So they would say that, land, usually, a house, Usually. Possibly a stock could be that. Possibly a life insurance policy. Like right now, I was just talking to somebody, and about term life or whole life. Most of us don't know this. And if we have a life insurance policy, usually it's term life, meaning that the terms will be based on a certain amount of money that you'll get if you die within this certain window and making your time and making your payments. A whole life is different because it'll be like your whole life. You can lend out of a whole life. You can reinvest in whole life.
Yeah.
I think it's way more people selling term life. Because usually to a lot of...
Well, it's cheaper as well.
Yeah, it's cheaper too.
That's the main thing. I think people buy the payments.
Yes.
And just gamble on.
Yeah, and you're gambling on basically, I think I may die before 75 or whatever that X number is. Whereas, but some of these things, like a financial planner would talk about, are definitely not expressed in our community as like the way and our propensity to spend too. When we think of being here in the city of Detroit as Black people, we also have the asset and the benefit of like at least right now, maybe 2 generations back of a whole workforce worth of people that were beneficiaries at the time of what was happening with the labor movement. My parents, like I always say, my parents met at a cost of adjusted living party, meaning a cost of adjusted living means that usually twice a year or maybe quarterly, the big 3 were doing so well that they would give bonuses to employees based on cost of adjusted living, meaning that the cost of life in America has gone up. So now we owe you more money. This was something that went on where people used to throw parties connected to this because they knew people had extra money.
Yeah.
Not like, we're laughing because that seems like meet George Jetson.
Right. Real
as
talk.
of today.
Right.
Right now it would be like, damn, you got a job party.
Right. Right.
You laughing, but you know what I'm saying?
You got a job party. I got you.
My last unemployment check party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we still had a lens of a base. If I kind of push back sometimes on financial planning because I think it's a lot of snake oil salesmen in that industry.
It is.
It's a lot of people that are full of shit that, from what I know from my Walsh College education, which I'm not saying that Walsh College is so great, but I feel like it's a great institution to learn from the most conservative people of how they look at money. And I'd like to look at money the way that those people look at money because it's a tool that they usually use. And I'm not saying they're right or I'm not saying they're wrong, but it's at least the theories that they're applying. And some of the stuff I hear with these financial planners in the hood, it don't feel well in my gut.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, money gives you access.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally a tool. And I look at the tool of money like fuel, right? In a vehicle, right? You can have a vehicle, but if you don't have any fuel, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. And that's why I look at us. We're people in America, which is a capitalistic society. Yeah. And our bodies, our straw man or whatever, right? That's your vehicle. If you don't have no money, you don't have no fuel. You can't get out here and do nothing. It costs money to leave the house. It literally costs money to leave a house. Period. So whether you eat, gas, right? I got to get 93, right? That's a whole nother expense. You know what I mean? Just saying, it costs money to leave the house. It costs money to wake up because you got to eat, you got to drink, sleep. You know what I mean? You gotta do stuff. You have pets, right? People got dogs, like whatever you gotta feed. Like you have children. Like every day, there's a finite amount that it costs for you to be alive. Hence on a daily basis.
Cost of living.
Absolutely, but we don't recognize that.
We're not.
They don't have your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
People don't have your. Excuse me. They don't have your spreadsheet. They're not on Excel looking at how much does my life cost. Like even with life insurance, that's really to take care of your final expenses and if you want to leave something. But we're not aware of how much it costs every day to live.
No.
When you really add that car note, your house note, your insurances, and all that kind of stuff up and divide it, what is your real cash burn? And I think if people were aware of that daily number, you'll do stuff differently.
The behavior.
It'll totally change. I just think we look at ourselves in the mirror to make sure our outfit is tight, our hair is tight, or whatever, the ladies with their makeup and jewelry, accessories, we do all that, but we don't look in the mirror in our finances and make sure our finances is tight, right? And it's like, I know I have a pretty good idea of where I am financially. It's not where I want to be, but it's in the direction that I should be going. You know what I mean? And it's like, it came really from my father. My father asked me when I might have been 30, because I had my children, I was 29. So I was 30 years old, and he asked me a peculiar question. He was like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 30. I mean, it's my father. It was like, it's like, I'm 30.
I know. My dad asked me the same thing.
Okay,
But that's how men are. I mean, you a dad now.
Yeah.
Men aren't like... Fathers are different than mothers.
Way different. She know
Even
the
if
date, the time, the hour, the minute.
Hour. Yeah. She probably know her. Yeah, she know your kids' friends' birthdays.
Yeah, stuff like that.
It's like, how old?
So if I was like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 30. He's like, all right. So how old you gonna be next year? I'm like, is this a trick question? I'll be 31. He's like, you got $31,000? I was like, I don't. Not like, I don't know. I doubt it. You're like, you got 2 kids. How you gonna take care of my grandkids and you ain't got no money? You be 31, you ain't got $31,000. You whatever. Like, he like, so how old you gonna be in 10 years? 41. Like, because it's weird. Like I'll be 41. He's like, by the time you 41, you better have $41,000, or we gonna have some problems.
Yeah, that's deep.
It's super deep. And I'm 41.
Yeah. And as you speak about that, that's very deep, and that's an interesting way to put everything, especially from your dad being giving it to you plain like that. Because the other angle I think that impacts Black savings is the other variables that take place in Black life. Variables like, especially I know a lot of Black women, as Black women are very active in the information and technology age of working. So
yes.
You'll have, and I'm sure you, like me, I mean, we've dated very successful Black women, but that very successful Black woman may be anchoring a whole family into whatever her saving situation is. So it's like co-signing with her sister that has children in her apartment. Co-signing, let me tell you all this if you don't know, because we've all seen it, but a lot of people don't act like this. You co-sign with somebody and they don't pay,
it come back on you and it mess up
your
credit.
They are coming for
that's your credit report.
You can't go into you can't go to GMAC and say, hey, guess what? I was just looking out for my brother and he no longer. They're like, we don't give a damn. That's your debt. That's your debt.
That's your debt. You sign.
So it's situations like that. It's situations of other almost carrying the responsibility and understanding the trials and tribulations of Black life, because that plays a strong role, I think, too, in our community. Of like, one of the classic examples I use is you talked about pro athletes when they say, man, all these pro athletes go broke. But, poverty is still interconnected into Black life, as we know that asset of money is one of the key assets that is strategically kept far away from us, and it's definitely some onus things like we could do to change that.
It goes,
but also it's like it's systemic and it's interpersonal.
I believe this is yes. You hit the nail on the head. It's both. Yes. It's both. We're in a system that's designed for us to fail, but we're also we're not doing anything to change that. We're allowing it to be business as usual because we're not from, like you say, the internal forces. It starts mentally. We can't change the world outside of us and our perspective of what's outside of us until we can control and change the world that's inside of us, and that world is in here. It's whatever you think it is. Like, it's almost like. I believe it's more to the mental aspect and I think if I had to go with my concept of the 51 and the 49% analogy, it's 51% mental. It's not 51% systematic, because there are brothers and sisters that come into this country and have figured out ways of being successful financially without being an athlete or an entertainer. You get what I'm saying? I had to figure out how to have 41 grand by the time I was 41 to satisfy my father. And I didn't do it by rapping, and I didn't do it by hooping, and I didn't do it by trapping. You know what I'm saying? So it can happen. You just gotta, like you said, you've been reading more, you study more. You gotta immerse yourself in more information, more knowledge, and be around different people that have different habits. And so when I looked around my peer group, I realized like most my boys, and most of my boys are older than me, but a lot of them was 40 and didn't have 40 grand. A lot of them was 40 and was still renting. You know what I mean? And we think about like, damn, you've been renting at $1,000 a month for 20 years. That's $200,000.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like just that's over $200,000. I'm just saying like that's a lot of, like, you could have owned this, you could have had you a building, you could have had it is so many things. So my father didn't say in 10 years spend $41,000. He said in 10 years show me you got $41,000. You have to have it. Like, but when you think about it, that's basically what helped set me free financially. Cause through the process, I have better credit. Like I got, you know what I mean? Like I own my primary residence. I own other property. I have a portfolio in the stock market. I got IRA and 401k. I got stuff popping now. But it's like it didn't happen until I focused on one goal, which was saving. You have to save for a goal. And now I have options because I have money. I can move wherever I want. If I want to, I can go move into a $300,000 neighborhood, $400,000 neighborhood. I don't know if I want that mortgage, right? I ain't saying I got 400 G's, but I at least got the 40,000, right? I at least have 40. At the minimum, if I don't have nothing else in this world, I at least got 41 G's. You get what I'm saying? Like, so my mindset is, but that's a foundation. That's a 10% down payment on a $410,000 house.
Yeah.
So I can, you know what I mean? Or I can just go buy one of these houses and fix it up with 40 grand. You know what I'm saying? And do some stuff. But it gives you, just having some money saved puts you in a power position where you can figure it out. Maybe the stock market, the airline stocks are going up. How much is Spirit right now? 20? I'm going to go get 100 shares. What's that, 2 G's? But if you got 20 G's, what's 2? To go get, and then you buy like you said, you buy the airlines and it jumped. Now that 2,000 went, if it only go up 40%, that was $800 extra. There's some people work all week for $800. There's people work for 2 weeks to get $800. Yeah, you didn't have to work. Spirit worked.
Yes.
So that's what the other people do that we don't do. We don't put our money to work. We put our money to waste. Both words begin with W, work and waste.
Yeah.
But we put our money to waste. Why? Because we want Jordans. I put my money to work. I go get Nike stock.
And I think in changing that mentality, that's one of the things too. The carrot on the stick mentality should be almost like you can embrace a different form of investment or escapism or release or entertainment
if you save.
other than what you think is being expendable. Meaning, yes, because you're right. Like I've seen, some Cartier glasses can get you a good amount of stocks. But if you look at stocks, if you look around, if you can look at your portfolio and find being enthralled with that, as enthralled as you are with buffs, and I know I'm speaking definitely in the theoretical world right here.
Sure.
Because you can't, you can't walk around with, your stocks on your face where maybe somebody in the club will notice you.
But here's the with that. They'll snatch your yays off your face. People snatch your yays. You can't snatch my portfolio. You can't snatch my financial freedom from me. You can't snatch my credit score. You can't snatch my free and clear home that's paid off. You can't take that from me. Like, so my freedom is there. Like, it's no, like, I got friends, if they, when everybody was flying to Dubai, they had that little run where everybody want to go to Dubai and take their little pictures for they selfies of us. Now we in Dubai with it. But it's like, I could fly to Dubai 20 times.
Yeah.
And I ain't been once. I look at going to Dubai like I look at Jordans. It's like anything that they have out there that we're doing, there's booby traps. I move in the opposite direction. They got us smoking black and mild. I don't smoke black and mild. Like I'm just saying, anything, what I'm saying, what they got doing. I don't use the N-word no more. I try not to do, but you know what I'm saying? Anything that they want them to do, I don't do, because that's the booby trap. They want us all backwoods, and because they want us all have lung cancer. So that's why everybody, let me get some woods. I can't live without smoking some woods. People are on that, and all we do is eat pizza and McDonald's type fast food. So we don't eat healthy. We everything is let me get some Hennessy, let me get some Remy. What's up with that Remy? I mean, you go to the store, whatever you doing, That's all it is all day. And it's just our people. We got to have, like, they didn't close the liquor stores in the pandemic because it was considered essential. What's crazy is because there's people who are literally going to shock and being fill up the hospitals if they can't access their alcohol or their cigarettes and stuff like that because they're dependent on this stuff. So we don't have, we wait, like we're killed, like we waste our money to kill ourselves faster, so we have nothing left over to pass generationally, and then at the end we gotta go fund me. Like this it's nuts, bro. Like the situation we're in is beyond nuts because we do have buffs. I know plenty of dudes with buffs, Jordans, got drive Challengers or Marauders. They got D's or they got TVs still. I know people got all this and don't own nothing.
Living their mom's
don't
basement.
own nothing, dog. But that car they paying on. If they own that, they got an old school. But it's like, and maybe you do got a cute big booty girl around or whatever you went to. But that can't, does that define your life? Because I'm throwing the flag on everybody. Like you can't BS me because I've been a hood dude. Like I've been around that impoverished hood rich mentality. Like I used to have a Mercedes and was broke though. Like, and I didn't like, and what I vision is broke now. Like I thought I had some bread, but really I didn't. You know what I mean? I had a Benz, but I was renting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That don't even make sense. What? But that's some type ish. But you know what I'm saying? Like
that mentality. And then also, I mean, when we talk about families, it's funny. Like, you know, and I've often been told this like in dating before. It's like, you so serious. A lot of people think I'm serious, just like a lot of people think you real serious. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they think I'm, you know, and we still have serious and silly sides to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Now with it, but in a serious in conversation and dating, that's one of the things I do. Like I consider it like a real, like if I'm dating and we get serious, it's like I show the budget. And it's funny just seeing the responses sometimes of, you know, different women when they see my budget. If we dating and we serious, it's like, this is my cash flow. This is how I budget for my business. This is how I budget for my life. You see some are, you know, you see the expenses and the differences, and you see me expecting when cash flow will come in with me negotiating and what's happening. Because I definitely, in a marketing firm, I have a complete business where I'm interfacing with some clients right now, but it's all up in the air. I don't know what's going to happen with my business.
Right.
You know, but how do you feel about that financially? Because I do think that investment in what you're doing with your money has a lot to do with the family structure too. And how do you suggest couples should interact with that? Because I still need to figure this out because I've gotten such mixed responses. I don't know what to do next time.
No, it's crazy you bring it up because I've been quarantined with my lady. Like, so I thought it was going to be a nuts situation. The first week drove me nuts, but we've been cool now. And we are currently rehabbing the house, right? So I told you, I bought my house, paid it off, but then she came maybe a year later or maybe 6 months later on the move-in tip. And so she wants to help out with the rehab, have some skin in the game because we've been kicking it 2 years. So the next step would probably be, you know, house, marriage, or marriage house. Like I'm trying to, you know, fellas, I'm trying to, like, well, let's get a house. Let's fix this house up and buy a year, and let's get a house and buy me another year, and let's get engaged, buy me a year. You feel me? Like, but I'm 41, so I can't string her out on forever. So, but the thing is, that being said, the conversations actually just started taking place through the quarantine. Like really within the last couple of weeks, because we've been kicking it for 2 years, but never went in depth
about
on each other's money because she had her own apartment in Canton. I had me a crib, so I figured, look, you drive you a 2020 and 2020 or whatever. You got your apartment out there, and she don't ask me for bread. Like, you have all your stuff together, but I never wanted to cut into her like, what you really got? And I remember one situation, we sat when I first met her mother, we went out to lunch or something like that, and she was kind of talking about some of the exes that her daughter's dated in the past, and kind of made like how guys was on her coattails or something like that. I'm thinking like, that ain't me. Like, I don't know what your financial situation is. We even argued one time before, and I brought up something like, I mean, I know you think you got bread, but I'm pretty confident I got more bread than you. And you should have seen her face. Like, it was shocking. Like, I didn't show her my bread.
Because you're like me too, in the sense of the usual packaging of what we see as money in our community. You don't fall under the lens of that packaging.
Right.
You know? And that's whether the street dude, because you're not wearing like crazy leathers and you know what I'm saying, and jewelry, or like the quote unquote we think professional dude, because you're not coming in here with a Brooks Brothers, though you got suits and stuff like that. You dress like a dude in the streets,
regular guy,
t-shirt, shorts, and like everything you say is definitely what I look at, even when I evaluate like where's your cash flow, where's your debt Here's another concept. Debt to asset ratio. What are you, are you under or are you over? What do you own free and clear? Because if you're just paying off on everything, you technically not really anywhere. So I know I kind of went on somewhat of a tangent, but it's good you spoke to that, because many of us, that's another thing I think that our people, and Americans in general, not just black people, but Americans in general, we can fall for the smoke and mirrors. Because another smoke and mirror person is our current president. It's always said, and when you look into his records, that he has this money and he speaks about money and being so wealthy. But when you look at his investments and everything, most of his deals are done under the assumption that he's the heavy, meaning that his name and his brand are what move the deal forward in his interests. He's rarely really put the capital in. His father put a lot of capital up.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump, our current president, rarely really puts the capital in like a...
You don't have to.
Well, I guess that's another argument.
You know what I mean? Argument. I mean, it's about what you bring to the table in a deal. Yeah. Like, I remember when I first started teaching stock market workshops, I had to go to the Northwest Activity Center, rent some space, and go and promote and do my thing. I remember the first time I went out of town, I had to, go online, buy some tickets on Spirit and fly and teach. But now, 4 years later, that's not the case. People pay me to speak. People pay and fly me or whatever. Like, I don't pay for space, like, because the value is, we got my man. Like, I made my name mean something more. Now, it's not on Trump's level, but I don't have to pay for the stuff I used to pay for, because the value is you're gonna make money just by listening to me. So you're gonna charge me to put you on game and put money in your pocket, because if anything, you should be paying me to put, like, for the game.
Put you on game.
Yeah, and so that's how it works now, because people respect the game, but you got to know game. So to close out that other part of the conversation, because this is very critical.
Yeah. The
wealth building happens with the black family and the black community.
That's deep.
When me and my lady had a conversation, because she didn't and I brought back to when I said in an argument, I was like, you talk all this breast crap, I probably got more money than you. And she made a face like, basically, please.
No way.
Yeah, like, no way.
Yeah.
And so I let that be, because the way she looked made me almost think maybe she do got more than me. Like, I don't know. And then we'll text each other little links to Zillow, because through the rehab and then with the whole pandemic, the quarantine, some of the people for a while couldn't nobody come in and do the work. So we just got a half done crib, and we looking crazy. So now we getting it finished. Like, it's guys right now in the kitchen right now finishing that out. And I laid the floors myself. Shout out to my grandfather who taught me carpentry.
You got that right.
Yeah. But yeah.
That's another appreciating asset. Knowing how to do something.
Yeah.
Really, knowing how to do something may be the greatest appreciating asset.
Yes, sir.
Skill sets, a trade.
Yeah, I do a lot more than trade stocks. But putting our conversation in full circle, we'll send each other little Zillow links to houses of where we want to go next. And it was, and for me, it's not my first house or mortgage. It would be hers. And so she doesn't know a lot about that. And so she asks very great questions, because her biggest fear in life is being broke. I've never met a woman who said, like, when you talk about what's your greatest fear, hers is being broke. I'm like, really? That's a peculiar thing, but I can rock with that. Like, that's your greatest fear in the world, is being broke. And she got her own, her own bread. Thankfully, I got more money than her. We did have that conversation. I edged her out, so I'm up on her. But with that being said, the conversation was like, do we sell this house? Do we rent this house to acquire another house? But after we actually had the financial conversation, realized we have enough money individually or combined that we can just go get another house. Like, if it was, and within our range, nothing scary. But if it was say 250, well, we both individually have at least 25 grand. Okay, remember, I have at least 41,000, and we'll have at least that for the rest of my life, whatever it is. And I'm using that as a tie back, but that whole story with my father, but that gives you the options. And she has at least 41,000, but she ain't 41. My lady's 27. So the difference is we can move, that's just saying those are the minimums we have. So we know that at least liquid between the both of us, we have 100 grand. So we have 100 grand liquid. We both got jobs. We both have businesses. We don't have a house note. You know what I mean? Went from she had a house note, but now you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's how you build. That's the wealth accelerator. Like, there's no bill. You know You get what I'm saying? Like, we went to get appliances last Saturday. I ain't never went appliance shopping with a girl. That's why I know this is getting more serious. And the appliance was like, came with like, I don't know, $2,600 or something like that. And she was like, well, how you want to do it? It was up. And I'm going to the other room. I'm pulling up my little, on my app to see what I'm going to pay with. You know what I mean? She didn't put it on her debit. I'm like, okay, that's peculiar. But then I cashed after $1,200 on it. You know what I mean? For the cash app, just on some next day. But like, I'm in the mix with you, but that was sweet to say you went and swiped $2,600 for appliances like it was nothing. But that's the power of saving money. If you didn't save the $26, you couldn't debit $26.
It would have been possibly at best a credit card.
Yeah,
which now you may end up spending, depending upon how long you had that debt. You could end up spending somewhere between $2,700 for that, or possibly $5,000 for that. All depending upon how you carry that debt over.
All depending on how you carry that debt over. So the pillar of building wealth in the black community is the black family. Because as the black family can work together and save money, you're splitting the bills and you have a unified goal set. And I don't mean split 50-50, ladies. I know before the ladies get pissed at me. I know sisters don't believe in that. But just saying, whatever the split is, right? Yeah. I saw my mother's never opened the mortgage envelope. My mother don't know what a house note looks like, right? But she bought most of the groceries, like, or she would. My father paid all the car notes, but my mother would pay the car insurance. Like, they had a system that worked for them.
Whatever the consensus is,
whatever the thing that worked for you
as a family. Which in reality, in America, we have to really look at this for real. In America, marriage and family, that's a business.
That is a business arrangement.
Yes,
that's a business.
Because if it breaks, it damn sure is a business arrangement.
Oh, it definitely. But if it works, it's then actually the key to your economic freedom. Because you look at it, well, let's say my lady made 30 grand, right? Yeah. Let's say I made 30 grand. Well, that's 60. Let's say in our side businesses, we each make 15. Yeah. That's 30, that's 90. If you don't have a house note and you bringing in $90,000,
yeah, now you have some savings.
You should be able to save some money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just using numbers that are absorbable. I'm not trying to be over nobody here, but just saying 30. Yeah, I ain't saying you make, but it's people here you make 90. Like, you use the example of the RN. It's RNs make 60, 70, 80,000, but don't have $800 in their savings account. And don't have no money in the market. They might have whatever little for the 401 that the hospital did, but that'd be the bare minimum. You look up and you go, okay, you've been working for 6 years and you got $8 grand. You've been working for 6 years, making 60,000. You only got 8 G's. Like, we don't know where we supposed to be at. You know what I'm saying? On that trajectory for retirement, right? We don't know our benchmarks because we're not keeping score. The way we keep score is yays, Jordans, and trips to Dubai, and Robin jeans, and red bottoms, and all this dumb stuff that don't mean nothing. That's how we be keeping score. Yeah. But we really kept scoring like, I'm 41. I'm supposed to have at least 41,000.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm supposed to have at 45? It can't be 45.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That can't be because I got to accelerate my savings now because I'm on this side of 40.
Yeah.
And that make sense? For my lady, it's different. She got 40 grand and she ain't 30 yet. So but I'm already 40. So I got to catch up. So I did a lot of goofing around in my 30s. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't always been serious. Like you said, we got different sides to us.
Now, as you talk about that, you touched on another term in economic concept, liquidity.
Absolutely.
Because that's something else. Liquidity means how fast you can get your hands on actual cash.
That's yours, too. Preferably.
Yes.
Because if you give someone else's debt, that's going to be more expensive money.
Which
because I'll definitely let somebody borrow 10 grand of my money, but it ain't going to be free.
Yes. Yes. So liquidity does play a strong role in our society and knowing where things are at. Because especially in home ownership, because that's one of the things. I mean, in that house next door, as you say, you learn things, roof, new plumbing, new electrical,
HVAC, and
painting because the roof had the
drywall,
so I had to repaint. Yeah, so like, and then just the natural expense of like taxes, property taxes. Yep. You don't want to own a home and then get your home snatched. All of this, as you talk about, is unique that you talk about the institution that can build wealth is marriage.
I think it's a wealth building accelerator.
It is one of the foundational things that is spoke to.
Yeah.
Oftentimes.
Yeah. I think it could totally work. And if two people can get on the same page, it could totally work because it's lifestyle matters. Lifestyle. Some people get married for lifestyle. We know that.
Yes.
Some people call it marrying up, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not marrying up, can you build together to elevate your lives together to the next level? So that's what leveling up is. And I think that's just the easiest way of doing it because that's a commitment, right? You made a marriage. We want to start a family. Well, you have to provide as a man. We have to provide and protect for the family we start, right? And women nurture and they do their role, right? But we still got to work together to build something for the family. No sense of having a family and you don't have nothing to. You know what I mean? Yeah. What are we building? What's the legacy? What are you leaving behind? Because I think that, and I don't know when that turning point hit for me, but I've discovered that life for me should be spent building something that will outlast it. Because no one wants to die. Not really. Not for real, for real. Like people aren't. I mean, some people are suffering and begging to die, but like not a lot. Most people want to be around, right? Well, the only way you can be around longer is if you do something.
Yeah.
Impactful in this world.
Deep.
Yeah.
Deep. Yeah, on that point, I think you touched so many points. It was very impactful. You left with definitely knowing that we're gonna get on like looking at like a watchdog of some of these corporations.
That. I really enjoy that idea.
And also, be willing to save. And I would say even before you move into saving, be willing to budget.
Yes.
Really be willing to budget. That's probably
and
step
put
one.
Saving in the budget.
I think the challenge with saving actually, in my mind, is that people are so dismissive about wanting to. It's like exercise. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't know what you got, you don't even know what you can save. And people think I want to hit a home run, so I want to save $500 this month. You may not be in a position where you can save $500 a month. You may be a person that needs to be saving $100 a month. Or maybe even 50, whatever it may be. But you got to start with a budget first. You need to know what's going out before you know what you can put away.
Yeah.
And then when you do save, I even have a safety deposit box.
Okay.
Consider something like that. Consider something where it's going to be more of an obstacle to touch your money.
Yes.
Due to COVID-19, I don't know what's going on and back and forth. I know I can get access, but it even puts other barriers between me getting. But those times where I really needed to save, I put a lot more of my money into my safety deposit box because I knew it was like I got to get up, I got to go all the way over here.
Yeah.
It's more of an inconvenience to touch it, especially, because we're Americans and all types of deals pop up. Whether it be stock or whether it be your friend, you said that trip to Dubai, your friend's like, oh man, my other boy dropped out. All you got to give is $100 for this trip.
Yeah.
And that urge may be there like, damn,
somebody hit me up
trip.
there. What was it? The suit was Miami. Something was going on in Miami not too long ago. And
what was that? The art? Damn, I forget the name of it.
It was some of it, but somebody dropped out, and one of my frat brothers hit me up like, yeah, you want to go to Miami? We going this, and I'm like, but I didn't do it. But you get those impulses that come up.
Yes.
And you satisfied the want. Yeah, I want to get out. I want to do something. But did I need to fly to Miami? Did I need to hang out in Miami? Did I need to burn that $800 to $1,200 for that trip, for that weekend? And not that amount of money will destroy me, but it still wasn't a smart decision as you're trying to build.
Yes.
It sabotaged the big game plan. So it's not even about is the money relevant? It's not about how material the size is. About are you disciplined enough to stick to the script? If your script is, like you say, this is your budget, so you're right. You should start with the budget first. Define the whole, holistic view of your ins and outs of flows of money and earmark.
Yes.
Saving should be a line item on your budget.
Yes.
But it starts with the budget first.
Yes. And you should know in the ebb and flow.
If you refuse the budget, you are choosing to be broke.
You
pick one, budget or be broke.
You are definitely going to end up hitting that credit card wall, or you're going to be hitting, and that's if you have credit available for you.
You're gonna be broke if you don't budget, man.
End up hitting the
you're gonna be broke if you don't budget. I promise you.
You're gonna be borrowing money from other people.
Yep.
And when you become that person that borrows money all the time, that becomes a whole nother get down. Now you can't go to certain family members' houses no more.
Oh, they're gonna talk bad. They're gonna talk bad about you at the barbecue. You know that.
All because you borrowed $200.
Thanksgiving dinner. They're gonna talk bad about you.
Yeah. You know, so I would say start with budgeting, know what you can save. You know, there
Yeah.
are some of those luxury items that we may consider. I mean, you know, depending upon how you look at life as luxury, that are necessities, because having quality of life is taking on new experiences. But looking at those experiences, whatever that may be,
No, that's
you
real.
need to even plan and budget in mind for that too. You
That's
can't
the
be
truth.
reactionary and impulsive, like you said, just because the person dropped out the trip and it's like, oh, I'll pay half, and it's like, damn, I ain't gonna never get a chance to go to Miami for $300. You can't respond like that. That's not being intentional. That's not putting planning in place.
Yeah.
You know, even the same way when things avail in your family, you may be able to support, you know, that brother or that sister that is in a tight spot, and you have to set up whatever your boundaries are. Let me review everything, and then I can decide how much I can be supportive now. All right, guess what? I know you said you asked for 5. This is what I can give. I can give $1. I can give 2. I can meet you at 3.
This is
And
what I can
maybe
do.
in 4, I can give you, you know, maybe, you know, 3 weeks from now, I can give you the other 2. If I give you the 3, will this help you out of your situation? If not, you know, let me know. But,
Yeah. So the word is called no. And that's the power. We got to learn how to say no to certain things, right? You
And
got to be able to
that
say
right
no to the
there
yays,
is tough. Yeah.
say no to the yays, no to the little cousin that need to be bailed. I know this is what I got. I got 100. I don't have it's like, I know I got the whole 500.
Yeah.
I'll wipe my butt with $500, bro. But just to put in perspective, but I won't give 500 because I don't have that budgeted for that.
Yes.
I got 100 on your problem, dog. Go, you got 4 more friends.
Yes.
Oh, it's my blood brother. But I know Johnny, he ain't going to jail. But the point of it is, if he did, all right, bro, I got 250.
Yes.
Go ask your sister, ask mom, ask dad. Because you messed up. You're not my child, brother.
Yeah.
You're not my responsibility. My twins are. So if they then that's different. But you're not my child. I don't have to save your life. I don't have to put on the cape and give you the whole 500. I could bail you out, but that ain't the point. It's the principle. And you have to be disciplined and stick to your principles.
That's deep. That's deep. So yeah, I like that. So start with I kind of like all 3 kind of combined. Those are 3 great tenets.
Thank you.
Have your budget. Well, no, even before budget, you need to have your principles.
Yes, your
Because
principles.
if your principles, I mean, if you budgeting for some bullshit,
Right.
it ain't gonna help. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, so you need to have your principles in order first.
Yes.
And really question what those material goods are. I mean, we're in America, we buy certain
Yep, you're
material
right. It
things.
starts
So you
first.
need to know
The goal.
where those things
Yeah.
are. If the Jordans are usually, I think, for guys, it's like I buy the Jordans so that girls can see me, and then I get the attention of the girl, and the attention. I have more confidence to interact
I
and
get
all of
it.
that. But still, you need to know where your principles are. You know what I'm saying? And you need to say, all right, can I approach a girl with some Adidas on? You know what I'm saying?
And like I said, I ain't got Jordans, but
Yeah. But I mean, these are things that you need to say.
Yes.
Your principles first.
Your principles.
Then your budget, and then your savings. And then with those things in order, you can move forward. And then I guess the last piece of this is when you do start engaging in, I mean, nowadays, and building that family, when do you think that should be brought up? When should you start having those discussions with somebody that is your significant other? When
I think I waited too long, possibly. I mean, not like we good. We're in a great
Yeah, I
space,
know.
but it took 2 years
Yeah.
for it to come up. But I had the confidence in her financially already. So at least because I had the financial confidence, I could delay the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I knew I mean, obviously you got your own apartment, your own car. You at least can take care of you. Which means you ain't eating in my pockets like that. So that is enough for me to start. But I think if people been together at least a year, right?
Yeah.
Right, because you got to have milestones. But that's one of the situations like, because when you grown. Now when you young, you ain't got to really be talking the future after 1 year. It's just like, hey, we got a year in. Like you can date somebody for 3 years and not really. But I'm 41 years old. I can't date for 3 years and then figure out you're not a good fit. You know what I mean? So we're now at a point where financially we've had all those conversations.
That's deep.
And now we know what we have the capacity
To do. Which kind of goes back to number one
What
with the
you just said,
principles,
yes.
and knowing how to budget. Because if you're off on principles, you know, this person's goal of success may be mansion in Birmingham, and yours may be staying in the hood.
Yeah. And I
which
think
would change, obviously,
everything,
the way decisions are made.
Everything. So I think the earlier that you can have that conversation, really, I would throw out there 6 months.
Interesting.
Just to kind of just almost on some just to shake the tree a little bit. Because I like your approach. I've never done your approach. I've never sat a babe down and said, look at all my stuff. Now, that probably ain't gonna never happen, but
I got you.
You know, for a number of different reasons. Because then if it don't work out, then you know what I'm working with. So
I got you.
Let me show you this account. Don't worry about these other 7 that you don't know about. This one's sexy enough.
I got you.
Focus there. So I'm just telling you.
I mean,
brother,
but it's real. I mean,
but I respect what you're doing because I would love to do that. Yeah. I'm hoping I don't have to re-date a woman to re-experience it because we already got. I want this to work, but. If I was out there dating, I think that it would have saved a lot of time, money, effort, and heartache. From a filter standpoint, it's a real chin check. Like, we 6 months, let me just pull up my screen. And if they look at it, they're going to like, if nothing else, they're either going to respect you more and be even more loyal to the program because they see you doing good. Or if you're not quite on track, it's going to or have that conversation. Mm-hmm. It's either one of those 3 outcomes. Either they don't see something that they're in love with, and they're gonna jump deeper on that hole. But then if you don't, and that's also could be a potential red flag. Because if y'all weren't that tight in that 6 months, like, you know what I mean? Like if you balling and she don't know you balling, she just think you regular, and then she found you balling. Well, that's different because she already liked me. Mm-hmm. But if y'all was already
cause problems too, because then she'd be like, well, damn, why we over
here with
XX, depending upon where her principles are.
But you can still, because you still the man.
Yeah.
You set the tone. Well, I didn't get this from buying yays. Yeah. And doing what all them doing. I didn't get this because I got to fly all over go to Vegas every 3 months and ball. I got this from this. So if my goal is to be with a woman and we can continue to grow this together and we complement each other. Because part of my principles is I'm never going to be broke again. Yeah. I know what that feels like. Mm-hmm. I will never be broke again. So that's a non-negotiable in my principles. So if you're gonna come to the table, you gotta compliment, because that's a non-negotiable. Because I can't do for you as a man what I need to do if I'm broke. And if you come in and you see an account and your number one mission subconsciously is to dilute that, to acquire a bunch of crap, to buy a bunch of shoes, and you're like, that ain't in my principles. Because I would never do that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Like you quit, like at all. Yeah. At all. And I just rather just, and so I think that if you can have that conversation as early as possible, the better, because people we BS each other too much and don't just get to the nitty gritty and have that real conversation, because we caught up in the stuff that don't really mean stuff. True. You know what I'm saying? We are. Yeah. The dating, the where we eating at, the how hot and steamy the sex is, whatever. That's all good. But what's up with the bread? At a certain point, let's talk about the cash. Or, or can you even cook? Can we have healthy meals, or is it always takeout? Because that's an expense. Do we got to spend $300 a week to eat? I mean, it can be more. It could be way more. But just saying, but I agree. The principles. I agree. Because that's part of saving and wealth building. We're going to get groceries, and I need you to get in the kitchen and get busy, and I'm going to get in the kitchen and get busy as well. But we have to eat healthy as a family, because we have to save for our future. Because one day we want a better kitchen, and we want to live in a better neighborhood, and we want to have a better quality of life for our children, and we don't want them to experience what we experienced. Because she grew up off of West 7 Mile, and I grew up off of East 7 Mile. Do we want our kids to really grow up off of 7 Mile? Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. If anything, it need to be by the university district, we're going to be off 7 Mile or Palmer Woods or something like Sherwood that. Ford. But like, you want to live in a situation where it's a choice. Elevate. And that's kind of what my dad always says. And this is great. We got to this point. Autonomy. Because that's what it is. Wherever you want to live, you want to feel like it's by choice and not by circumstance. Yes. Circumstantially living is... Live your life on purpose. Yes. By choice, it's completely different. As we see, I mean, I don't know if people are very familiar, but Davidson and Linwood, where I'm at, but now you have the tiny house program not far from Woodrow Wilson. But that's people, a program, and then it's some people that are moving in with what they call minimalist lifestyles. Mm-hmm. But if you're choosing a minimalist lifestyle, it's different than a person feeling trapped into minimalism. Mm-hmm. Trapped into sardines every night and ramen noodles and renting out a room from somebody's house where you never, where it's all types of chaos. That's a different type of minimalist lifestyle than like some hipster that's
choosing to quote unquote reconnect with not needing a thing. That's a whole different get down.
Yeah. So I think that's well said. And, I think that the key to those traps that are out there is financial literacy.
That's deep. Thank you. Ken, this was great. I'm going to have you back on. We're going to think through this watchdog thing, man.
Yes, sir.
And how do people get in contact with you if they're interested in connecting, learning more, and really getting some scoops? Because this was definitely way more macro and an overview. We didn't get into any nuts and bolts of being on game.
Oh, it's a lot of game out here. So it definitely takes a lot of time. I've been trading for 23 years, so I can't get it all out in 23 minutes. But to get in touch with me, Bullish Picks, BullishPicks, Bullish Picks, like stock picks, bullishpicks.com, or call 313-744-3489. That's 313-744-3489. And if you're a listener, a viewer of this podcast, we will do I will honor a free consultation over the phone or over Zoom with you. So just mention that you heard us here, and we'll do that for you. 313-744-3489, and get in touch with me. Blanks Harrell.
All right, respect. Thank you, sir.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.